The NHL regular season starts October 11th. We're this close away. There's lists flying around everywhere about who's going to be the top teams, who's going to rank where in the division. And you know, Coach Ryan D went ahead and gave you 5 videos ranking not only all 32 NHL teams, but by division as well. Well, The Athletic has their advanced analytics model out there right now, which means they use science and data points to tell us who they think are going to be the best teams at the end of the regular season. Coach Ryan D is going to go ahead and compare his power rankings to this advanced analytics model, and we're going to see where we differ. We all know that advanced analytics are one of my favorite ways to determine our own bias, check our own bias at the door, and see if we really are just in love with a certain player or if maybe we're missing something. It's also a great way to explain the fact that advanced analytics don't always get it right. They're very far away many times. The eye test and what you can see as a fan and what I can see as a coach matter. So let's go ahead and merge those two together and let's compare the best list in the NHL from The Athletic and Dom Luszczyszyn to Coach Ryan D and Hot Garbage Sports right now. Please go ahead and subscribe down below. Smash that bell for the best in hockey content. It is here on Hot Garbage Sports. We also want to thank all of the people from our coaches staff. You can join down below by hitting that join button for $1 or $5 a month, supporting the channel as you go forward. You get shout outs like these awesome super fans do as well, or you just help a content creator who's making his way in this world. You want to talk to Coach Ryan D, Discord's the place to do it. Link is down below. Let's get to that list. It starts with number 32, the Arizona Coyotes. The Athletic have them at 32 with 62 points. I also have them at 32 with only 25 wins last year. This feels right. There's no disagreement. 32 is correct in the Bedard sweepstakes for the Arizona Coyotes. The Montreal Canadiens come in at ranked number 31 by The Athletic. I have them ranked at number 29, roughly 73 points on the year with only a 1% chance to make the playoffs. That is because Carey Price is going to be on LTIR all year this year. If Price was in, I think both of us would have them higher, but 29 and 31, close enough. The Chicago Blackhawks are ranked number 30. I have them ranked at number 31, roughly 74 points. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are not going to have a lot of fun playing for this team this year, but who can feel bad for those guys? They've raised 3 Stanley Cups together. They took the bag of money at $10.5 million. It really hindered the Chicago Blackhawks moving forward. They kept the band together with Keith, Seabrook, Toews, and Kane, and it has cost them. They are now in the full basement rebuild mode, looking to tank for Bedard. The Buffalo Sabres were tied 29 and 29, and this feels right. This is the darling team of the NHL this year right now in the basement. I really want Buffalo to take a step forward. Fans are amazing. They deserve it. They've been in rebuild for a billion years. It feels like Tage Thompson has a new contract. Will Owen Power boom as a 19-year-old in the NHL? I think so. He's one of the best NHL defensemen I have ever seen at such a young age. This team, though, doesn't have the goaltending, so I fully agree with the 29 and 29 ranking for this, but I'm hoping for better for the Sabres. Philadelphia Flyers ranked 28. I have them ranked at 27. This makes sense. They're without Sean Couturier. They don't have their number 1 center. Tony DeAngelo is back there to help the defensive cause, but we know his locker room challenges. Carter Hart has yet to become the elite goalie he was supposed to become. This team just doesn't have the horses. The Athletic and I agree again. The Columbus Blue Jackets, I have this team as a playoff bubble team, meaning they could make some noise. I have them ranked at 25. Columbus has them ranked at 27, so we're close enough. I think the reason is simple. Johnny Gaudreau can be as good as he wants, and he is a fantastic player, but Boone Jenner and Patrick Laine do not play the transition game the same way Johnny Gaudreau does, and the fact that he lost Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm, I think, is going to hinder him. He's still going to be a top 20 player, but I don't think this team has the horses to go forward, but keep a close eye on Cole Sillinger. This is a player that's going to make a massive push this year, in my opinion. San Jose Sharks, we agree again. 26 for 26, 76 points for the Sharks. Timo Meier, Tomas Hertl, Erik Karlsson, the 3 best players on this team. And then it falls off a cliff. No goaltending right now. James Reimer, the ever steady Eddie back there, but not good enough to win you a Stanley Cup. Capo Kakinen again, hoping for this guy to eventually enter into starter territory. Once again, it just hasn't happened for the young man right now. This is a team in rebuild. They could be a playoff bubble team, but they're likely a rebuilding team. The Anaheim Ducks, this is where we're starting to disagree. 25 for the Athletic, 22 for me. Advanced analytic models like this only rank points and performance based on a historical past. Well, when you have guys like Troy Terry, Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, and Jamie Drysdale all so critically young, any one of these players can take another massive step forward next year, or their first step forward in the case of Mason McTavish, and become that elite player that this team needs to be. If that happens for 2 or even one of these players, I think they're going to be ranked higher than where both of us have them. So they are a threat to make the playoffs. They're going to be an interesting team to watch this year, but I think the advanced analytics are sleeping on the Ducks. The Yzer plan and the Detroit Red Wings, an A-plus organization. The advanced analytics have them at 24 over there at The Athletic. I have them as number 20. Now remember, I haven't said it yet, but I want you to go over to The Athletic and subscribe. It's the best in hockey content right now, and we are not sponsored with no kickbacks, and there is no link below for The Athletic for you to subscribe. I just think it's the best out there. It's the best advice I can give you, and that's a freebie for you. But the Detroit Red Wings, once again, just like the Anaheim Ducks, I think they're critically young. I think Mort Seider is going to step into a top 10 role this year as a defenseman, top 15 at worst. Some people already have him there. The question is going to be Ville Husso and the goaltending. If Husso can do what he did for the Blues in the regular season for this team, I think they're going to be very good, but we all know he dropped the ball in the playoffs, and Nedeljkovic has not been the same with Detroit that he was with Carolina. So we'll wait and see, but I have this team ranked higher than the Athletic. The Seattle Kraken, they have them at 23. Nope, I have them at 28. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you, and they're not going to fool me twice. I do think this team is going to be better in a few years, but I think they need a couple more years, and they're going to get one more big draft pick. They will be scary because they will be in the Connor Bedard lottery and sweepstakes, in my opinion, and Matty Beniers is going to carry their first line center role. Shane Wright's going to carry their second line center role all year. He might get moved to the wing, maybe, but I'm going to go ahead, hot take it, and say Shane Wright makes the team as the second line center. He's the best player in the draft from last year, and for those of you that think he has a bad attitude, Nathan McKinnon took a strip off Jared Bednar twice publicly in the playoffs this year, and those two still won the Stanley Cup. I know Wright is not McKinnon yet, but elite players will do elite player things. Shane Wright will be fine. He'll stick with the Kraken all year. The Kraken aren't ready yet, but Beniers, Wright, and possibly Connor Bedard, scary, scary future for this team. The Ottawa Senators ranked number 22 for The Athletic. No way, Jose. I got them at 17. And again, that is because the advanced analytics look at past performance. Well, when you have young guys like Kachuk, Batherson, Norris, Tim Stützle, I think they're all ready to take a big step forward this year. They're the darling team for many, so it's not a hot take to have them at 17. But I have these guys as a playoff team. Yes, 17 isn't a playoff team, but when you're talking about 2 or 3 places and you're talking about the NHL, any team between 14 and 19 is considered a playoff team and will make a push till the end of the year. I have them making it, but the advanced analytics only have them at 27%. Boost that up. I love this team. Hate the goaltending though, but let's wait and see. Worst case scenario, they'll be there next year. My Winnipeg Jets, 21 and 21. Hey, we fully agree, and that is because advanced analytic models do a great job with veterans. This veteran group of defenders, with their top 5 defensemen being Morrissey, DeMello, Dylan, Pionk, and Nate Schmidt. They have 9 NHL-ready defensemen. They just lost one of those guys to waivers. Bye-bye, Kovacevic. Terrible job, Kevin Cheveldayoff, of managing this team. He loses players for nothing all the time. This management group and ownership group pats themselves on the back way too much, in my opinion. Wonderful fans. Really hoping for great things from my organization and the city of Winnipeg here. Elite player in Kyle Connor up there up top. Pierre-Luc Dubois. Is it his last year in Winnipeg? Likely, but we'll end up seeing making the playoffs and winning is going to turn a guy around. Scheifele with a renewed attitude. Nick Ehlers up there on the top line. Bull Perfetti ready to break out. Look, what is this team going to do? Likely, they're going to miss the playoffs and be in the 20s. The Athletic and I agree. The New York Islanders, again, a veteran team that gets a really good rating when it comes to advanced analytics, and not a good rating in terms of their overall ranking, but a good rating in terms of the accuracy of where I think this team is going to land. I do think this is a team that can make the playoffs. I have them at 19, so we fully agree, The Athletic and I. The question comes down to coaching. Trotz got the most out of this team. I don't think they get the most out of this team without Barry Trotz. Sorokin, though, has entered into elite goaltending territory, and that can carry you very, very far, especially when you have Pollock and Pelech back there as one of the best shutdown pairs in the league. And you have young Noah Dobson ready to step forward massively this year. I have him in the top 30 defensemen of the NHL right now already. They have a balanced group up there with their top 6 and their top 9. So yes, they can make the playoffs. But we fully agree that it's going to be just outside for the New York Islanders this year. The New Jersey Devils, a team that I think is getting overranked. I have them at 24. They have them at 19. But I have said time and time again, this team has the horses to go ahead and make the playoffs. So I'm not going to fully die on this hill right now. I think when you have Hischier, Hughes, and Dougie Hamilton there playing for your team, you can do a lot of great things. Andre Palat just signed with it. The question is Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood. I don't think these goalies are ready to make the playoffs for the New Jersey Devils yet this year, but they could. They have a 39% chance to go forward. The Athletic and I disagree on their ranking, but I think we both agree that they're a playoff bubble team. We're agreeing with the Vancouver Canucks, 16 and 18, close enough for me. I think, again, a playoff team out there. This is a team that's going to compete in that 14 to 18 range. They have a very good forward core, or at least good enough to make the playoffs, and Bruce Boudreau got him fired up when he came in last year. The big question is, what are they going to do with their captain, Bo Horvat? Back there, Quinn Hughes is an elite offensive defenseman. He desperately needs to take a step forward, becoming a defensive defenseman this year as well, so he can become that two-way defenseman and lead this team into the future. Thatcher Demko only gets a B+ from the Athletic as a goalie. Nah, this guy's elite. He's in the top 6 of the NHL as well. He's up there with Sorokin, in my opinion. I think he's actually a little bit better than him, so I think they're getting undersold on goaltending. I think this team makes the playoffs. I like what I see going forward. The St. Louis Blues, criminally underrated by Advanced Analytics this year. You heard me say it. Advanced Analytics last year said they weren't very good. I agreed with that one. That's because their shot totals and their goal rate wasn't sustainable. Too many shots against, not enough shots for. They end up losing out in the playoffs because Jordan Binnington goes down. Yes, but they also lost to the Avalanche because of those underlying analytics. But I think they're a better team this year than they were last year. So I am happy to put them at number 10, and I'm happy to put them at second in the Central Division. And I'm happy to say they are likely the only team, in my opinion, that can knock Colorado off their perch in the Central. Tarasenko, Thomas, Buchnevich, love all these players in the top 6. I love Saad. I love O'Reilly. I mean, when you have Thomas and O'Reilly as your 1-2 center punch, it's going to be great. You have Jordan Kyrou, one of the best skaters in the NHL, newly minted deal back there as well. And you have Jake Neighbors, who I think is going to join this team, taking massive steps forward. Yep, give me that all day. Their defensemen are being criminally underrated by the model here. Leddy, Parayko, Krug, Falk, Bortuzzo, and the crew are all underrated by the Advanced Analytics metrics. In my opinion here, I think this is an amazing top 7 for defenders in the NHL. The big question is going to be, if Jordan Binnington does what he does in the regular season this year compared to what he did in the playoffs last year, this is going to be a deadly team. But if he falls back into his old ways like he did last season, could be ugly. But if you get the right Binnington, this team can do everything it wants to do. We agree on the LA Kings, 16 and 13. I think this is about where they need to be. A lot of people have them higher. I do not. Jonathan Quick's still elite. Drew Doughty is amazing. Sean Jersey is getting underrated. Same with Iafallo in this model. They have a really good top 9. Quentin Byfield needs to take a step forward. Kevin Fiala joining the team takes an already deadly team that took the Oilers to 7 one more step further, but the question is going to come down to the health of their veterans. Kopitar, Deneau, and Doughty need to be present in the playoffs along with Kevin Fiala and Jonathan Quick in order for this team to do some damage. So 13 and 16 feel right for me. The Vegas Golden Knights, one of the best fan bases in the NHL. You heard me say that right, and a lot of you are going to be pissed off about that because Vegas is not well liked amongst the NHL players and fans alike. But let me tell you who likes Vegas. The locals in Vegas love their team. They support their team to death. They understand hockey. They know hockey. I just got back from Vegas watching a preseason game there between the Sharks and the Knights. Fantastic environment. I've been there many times. One of my, if not my favorite place to watch hockey. You got to go see a game if you haven't seen it and cheer for your home team. Follow them down there, but it's hard to get tickets because those locals love the Knights. To the Knights as a team though this year, nope, they're not making the playoffs. I don't care who's on this roster. The goaltending is not good enough to get them through. Their defensemen are fine, but when you have a hole in goaltending, just ask the Seattle Kraken how that ends up going. It doesn't go well. Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore looked awesome in the preseason. They are elite as elite can get. Mark Stone looks like he is still broken from that back surgery. Doesn't look like the same player. I don't know if he's going to fully recover this year or not. Phil Kessel looks like he's resurged over there in Vegas, looked great. Jack Eichel looked phenomenal, but the rest of the Vegas Golden Knights looked very, very average. I have this team missing the playoffs. Advanced Analytics are overrating them because they're veterans. They don't have room for injury here because they do not have a lot of depth. I think this team is being overrated by Advanced Analytics. The New York Rangers, lot to say about this team. I have them ranked 9. They have them ranked 14. Fans have them ranked winning the Stanley Cup because New York are rabid hockey fans and they love their team. 95 points feels undersold. I think they're going to be a 100-point team this year. Again, like the St. Louis Blues last year, I think this is a team that overperformed thanks to a goalie. Also, like the St. Louis Blues this year, I think this is a team that is significantly better than they were last year. And when you have a goalie like Igor Shesterkin, the sky is the limit. Lindgren, Fox, Miller, and Trouba are an amazing top 4. Miller takes a huge step forward. Ryan Lindgren gets the playoff experience that he needs. Adam box is all. Kreider and Zibanejad are definitely one of the best 1-2 punches in the NHL, at least being undersold in my opinion. And now you have Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere if you're French. These two guys need to take massive steps forward this year in order for this team to perform. Philip Hedl is awesome as a third line center. He was fantastic with the kid line last year. Trocheck coming in to replace Andrew Kopp is everything you want it to be. Gerard Gallant's a great coach. I think this team's being undersold, but I think fans that have them in a top 3, top 4 position, that's way too high for me. So I have them at 9. Advanced Analytics has them at 14. Ranger fans have them at 1. The Dallas Stars, we fully agree on. Playoff team, bubble playoff team, but that is okay. No big deal. 73% chance to make the playoffs. Newly contracted Jason Robertson is absolutely elite. Jake Ottinger back there, if he takes that step forward and becomes a top 6, top 7 goalie in the NHL, sky's the limit for the Robertson line. Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski, backed up by Jake Ottinger. I love it. Go ahead, add Miro Heiskanen in there, and you have one hell of a core of a team. Ryan Suter is no joke back there with the cross checks and beating you up in front of the net. He's still one of the better defensemen in the NHL. I agree that this team is not going to be a top team, but they're going to be a team to watch in the playoffs this year. The Washington Capitals, 14-12. This is the team that has the biggest threat to miss the playoffs, and that's because Backstrom and Wilson aren't going to be there. Backstrom and Wilson, torn ACL, hip surgery over there for Backstrom. You've heard me talk about it before. Backstrom may never come back. Let's hope he does. Tom Wilson will come back, but let's hope he's the same player when he does. Yes, ACLs get repaired all the time, but for every ACL and success story you hear, there is one that totally fails. So let's hope he ends up coming back. Ovechkin, Karlsson, still elite, and you add the elite goaltending of Darcy Kemper. Could be the best team the Capitals of Ice in a couple years, but it's going to require the health of their veterans to return. If it doesn't, they could miss the playoffs. The Nashville Predators, severely overrated here by Advanced Analytics. They have them at 11. I have no idea why. I have them at 18. Yes, they can make the playoffs, but I have them as number 5 in the Central right now, and that is only if the Central sends 5 teams, which with a budding Pacific division is looking less likely. 97 points. UC Saros, a top 3 goalie in the NHL. Philip Forsberg, one of the top 10 wingers in the NHL right now. Roman Josi, a top 5 defender in the NHL, arguably number 1, but I mean, I have Makar and McAvoy above him, but Roman Josi is fantastic. Then you take a look at Matt Duchene's resurgence over here. That ends up helping. This team has enough talent to make the playoffs, but I do not see how anyone could rank them at number 11, but that's what the model spits out. That's what the stats spit out. So maybe I need to check my bias at the door and relook at this team. The Pittsburgh Penguins, we fully agree at 8-10. Close enough again. 100 points makes sense. The longest serving trio in the NHL with Crosby, Letang, and Malkin are back together. Their window is only 1 or 2 years long at this point. These guys are older. They're aging. I don't care what the length of the contract is on these guys. As you approach 40, you can fall off a cliff at any time. But when you have guys like Jake Gunsel and Brian Rust up there supporting with Ricard Raquel and Jason Zucker, this team can definitely do damage. The only player they really lost of note is Evan Rodriguez and Mike Matheson, but they still have enough back there with Brian Dumoulin, and they replace it with Jeff Petrie. You gotta love that. Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith need to be healthy going into the playoffs, and as much as I love the Rangers would have lost to the Penguins had Crosby not been injured and had there been a single goaltender back there not named Louis Domingue, but it doesn't matter how you get it done. You get it done. We're talking about a new year and a new season. We're talking about a healthy Pittsburgh Penguins team right now. Rangers should look out. Same with the Metro for this team. The Edmonton Oilers, criminally underranked here at number 9 in Advanced Analytics. I have them at 6. They could definitely go higher, but I like my top 5 teams better than the Oilers. If the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, I won't be surprised though. So again, like the New York Rangers, very polarizing team in the community. 100 points. They only got better for the first time in Hot Garbage Sports history. I think this is a deep forward group. Why? It's because you have guys like Ryan McLeod ready to take a massive step forward. It's because you have a prospect like Dylan Holloway who's probably going to make this roster. It's because you have trade guys coming in like Matthias Janmark, and it's because when I look down the middle of Hopkins, Draisaitl, and McDavid, and then you take a look at guys like Evander Kane coming in late, yeah, this team is definitely added depth, so they are no longer shallow as a kiddie pool. I like their defense more than the Advanced Analytics are giving them credit for. Evan Bouchard will take a big step forward this year. 1.9 GSVA is low. He's young, he's budding, he's up and coming, he's going to take a big step. Darnell Nurse was massively hurt last year. year. You know I love Nurse. I think he's going to return to old Nurse fashion. Kulak was a lovely signing. CC's fine back there. I'm hoping for the best for Broberg, and Tyson Berry's a power play specialist. The only question I have, and the only reason I have this team at 6, is Jack Campbell. Dislike him as a goalie, dislike what he brings to the team. He was the best goalie available. You're in a window now, so they bought him, but I don't know if he can win you a Stanley Cup. Carolina Hurricanes ranked number 8. Why? What? How are you doing this? Ranked number 8? Whatever. Doesn't matter. I have him ranked at 2. We fully disagree. Patches has a torn ACL. Achilles, lots of things with A's, but Patches will be back. When Patches ends up back there, he is that elite scorer that this team was missing. They got him for a bucket of pucks. Look, if it doesn't turn out and Patches' career is over because of a torn Achilles, and that can happen, it's a terrible injury, then you know what? It didn't cost them anything anyway. Andrei Svechnikov is their best scorer out there, not named Max Pacioretty. So if Pacioretty can't return, Svechnikov's going to have to carry the load. And what I think held them back last year wasn't just the fact that Freddie Anderson was hurt. It was the fact that they didn't have that elite scorer. They have it now with Patches. Tony DeAngelo, the locker room trouble is out of there, but he is a very elite player. So I'm not sure if the trade from him to Brent Burns is going to help or hinder, but I love the veteran presence of Brent Burns. Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce, and Brady Shea are some of the best top 4 in the NHL out there right now, with Slavin being a top 10 NHL defender. And I think Seth Jarvis is going to take a massive step forward and crack the top 10 for wingers this year in the NHL. Hot take. Unlikely, but hot take. This is the number 1 team in the Metro, underrated by The Athletic. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I fully agree with this ranking. How? You have them ranked at number 1, Coach Ryan. Well, very simple. The Lightning don't care about points in the regular season. They load manage all the time. They make sure their players are rested, and frankly, I think they just are the Tampa Bay Lightning in the sense that they're the only team I've ever seen that can just snap their fingers in the playoffs and be a totally different unit when it comes to it. This team lost nobody but Ryan McDonough, who wasn't that great last year anyway, in my opinion. They haven't lost really anybody else of note. You have Nick Paul and Ross Colton still back there. This is a deadly top 9. Look, the NHL doesn't change as much as people want it to change. So young teams, whether it's the Oilers, whether it's the Rangers, whether it's the Hurricanes, don't necessarily get to knock off these elite teams very quickly. It can take 4 or 5 years, and these guys have been a window for quite some time. So yes, rank 7 by regular season points makes sense, but they are still the best team in the NHL until they are not, in my opinion. 3 trips to the Stanley Cup Finals in a row. Hey, they're going to have to totally fall off planet Earth for me to not give these guys credit. The Boston Bruins, they have them at rank 6. Nope, I got them at 11. That's because Taylor Hall, Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, and Matt Grzelcyk are not going to be back with this team until about December. Maybe Taylor Hall comes back sooner. I think he does. I don't know. I can't remember well, but it's a lot of players injured here. This is an amazing team, but this team is going to have to stay in the playoff hunt without 4 of their best players. We'll see. I love Bergeron and Krejci being back with this team. Charlie Coyle back at number 3 center. That's where he belongs. Pasternak doesn't have a contract going into this year. What are they going to do with this guy? There's a lot of question marks on the Bruins. That's why I have them at 11, but they are a threat to miss the playoffs this year. Minnesota Wild, criminally overrated by advanced analytics consistently and all the time. The Athletic loves to overrank these guys. Dom Lucian loves these guys. I love Dom, but I fully disagree with this. I haven't been on the Minnesota bandwagon in terms of being an elite team for some time. Look, last year, I didn't have them pegged to beat St. Louis, and that is because these guys outscore their problems at a clip that is not sustainable. You've heard me say it time and time again, and they've lost Kevin Fiala. However, you've also heard me be very fair saying they have probably the strongest forward group in the NHL in the sense that there is no weak link on this team. Look at this roster. It is littered with NHL ready players from the 4th line up to the top line. Their defense is excellent. And if Marc-Andre Fleury is still Marc-Andre Fleury, this is going to be a deadly team. The problem with this team is this team scores way more than they should. If that again ends up happening this year and they're not getting the shot totals they need to get, again, I'm going to have the same narrative on the Wild. Can they win a cup? For sure. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. But we fully disagree, The Athletic and I, on the positioning of the Wild. They have them at 5. I have them at 12. The Big Cats, Florida Panthers, we're entering elite territory. We agree. 4 and 5. It's all the same. Elite team, elite team. Paul Maurice looking for his first Stanley Cup. I think he can get it here with this team, especially with the fact that you have Matthew Tkachuk joining this roster. This roster is going to be brutalized in a few years when people have to end up leaving it because they do not have any prospects picks or any future potential because they've sold it all to win now, but they can win now. This team led by Aaron Ekblad and Alexander Barkov is going to be as deadly as they come. The question is Matthew Tkachuk enough sandpaper for this team to end up making the playoffs with the loss of Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau? Colorado Avalanche, we fully agree. 3 for 3. This is still an elite team, but they have holes down the middle. They've lost their center in Nazem Kadri. I don't think they have enough depth at center. They have one of the best top threes in the NHL with McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. Arturi Letkinen only scores big goals in big games when it matters. He's awesome, but he's not going to be a regular season dynamo. Valerie Nichushkin, I think, overpaid, but still a great player for this team. Evan Rodriguez joins this team up top to replace some of the depth that's lost. Devon Tays, Cale Makar, both elite top 5 defensemen in the NHL, ranked 1 and 5 for me in my top 30 NHL rankings. But people told me in the comments, how can you not call the Colorado Avalanche one of the best defensive cores in the NHL? That's because Manson, Johnson, and Girard aren't ranked that well according to advanced analytics, and I agree with it. I'm sorry. They're good good enough, but I think this team is carried by Makar and Tays, not just Makar and Tays. Boehm Byram's going to take a massive step forward though this year, and if he does, that puts them way up because I think Byram's their 3rd best defenseman right now. Frankie and Georgie, good enough to win with this team because this team is that damn good, but they are no Darcy Kemper yet. However, both goalies have a lot of potential, especially Georgie, to enter the elite category or at least starter category of NHL players. Let's start with starter first with Georgie because he's been a backup this whole year, but I love the potential I see with Georgie and Frankie. He is a very solid backup. We saw it in the playoffs last year. The Calgary Flames, they have ranked at number 2. I got him at 7, and I got him 1 behind the Oilers. Why? Well, because they lost to the Oilers. Jacob Markstrom can't stop Connor McDavid and co. If Jacob Markstrom could stop the Edmonton Oilers in net, then yes, I would have this team above the Oilers. I love their defense. I think this is one of, if not the best defensive cores in the NHL. Hanifin, Anderson, Weegar with his new contract, Chris Tanev, Killington, and Zadorov. I love this top 6. Yes, they lose Johnny Gaudreau, but they get Huberdeau back there and Nazem Kadri to replace it. I think this is going to be fantastic. And when you have Mikael Backlund playing in your number 3 center hole, this is a deadly deep team. 107 points feels right, but I have them at rank 7 because if they run into the Oilers in the playoffs, I think the Oilers will buzzsaw them again unless Markstrom figures out how to stop those pucks. And the number 1 team, according to The Athletic, is the Toronto freaking Maple Leafs. Jesus. Oh my God. What do we have to say? The on-running joke. Everybody's favorite team in the NHL is their favorite team. Their second favorite team's whoever's playing the Leafs. Leafs fans love to pick on themselves and the NHL loves to pick on the Leafs. But no matter what, I'm a pragmatic hockey guy. This is a deep team. I've been saying it for years. And just because they don't get out of the first round doesn't mean they're not one of the best teams in the NHL. Get what I'm saying? They went to 7 with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who got to the Stanley Cup Finals and were 1 goal away from it. This team is that good. The playoff format is bullshit. It's an ugly playoff format. It doesn't rank guys the way you need to rank them. So just getting out of the first round, it is tough for a lot of teams in the NHL because of these formats. Players don't like it. I don't know if any fans really like it, but TV ratings sure like it. So the Toronto Maple Leafs not making the first round, that's a bit manufactured thanks to the way the playoffs work. It's still an elite team. They're going to be a top 2 team in goals this year, along with the Florida Panthers. They're going to be a top 3 team in terms of power play, along with the St. Louis Blues. This team's only question back there is Matt Murray and Samsonov. You've heard me say it. Samsonov went to this team because he could actually end up the starter, but Matt Murray's looked good in preseason. If Matt Murray can figure out to play hockey like the way Stanley Cup winning Matt Murray knew how to play hockey, this could be a very good team. He hasn't played on a good team in quite some time. Yes, I know he was on Pittsburgh there, but when he ended up leaving Pittsburgh was in a weird transition stage. Ottawa was a terrible team when he was playing for it, so he's now playing in front of an elite team. This defensive core is just as good as the Calgary Flames, in my opinion. It's a step below in terms of name value, but it's still good. Riley, Brody, Muzzin, Liljegren, Giordano. Hate Justin Hall, but that top 5 is great and you can hide Hall. Best first line in hockey? Maybe, maybe not. Depends who you ask. Michael Bunting, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. People can talk about Matthews and Marner all they want, all day, every day, but Matthews and Marner are elite players at their position. It is the number 3 player in the world in Matthews. I got Makar, McDavid, then Matthews. If you got Matthews as 1, I don't care. They're all elite. Mitch Marner's a top 5 winger, and Kyle Dubas, although he hasn't been re-signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, has built some of the best teams in the NHL. So can I disagree with his rank of 1? Yes, but we're pretty close here, team. And for those of you who have other teams above the Maple Leafs, like I've heard the Edmonton Oilers, I would still take the Leafs roster over the Oilers roster, but that doesn't mean the Oilers don't have a better chance to win the cup because it's a different path in the West than it is in the East. All right, team, there is our ranking. I'm going to go ahead and pop up my tier ranking here for you so you can see it. And remember, my tier rankings are tiered because any team can be in any order. I don't live and die by rank 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just group teams together as how I think they're best going to play. Subscribe to the channel, join us down below, leave me a comment for what you want to see as our next video. That thus concludes our 6-part series ranking teams going into the NHL season this year.